2018 work session to order this time. If we can have a roll call. Mr. Clerk.
Dominic.
Present.
Lyndon Johnson. Jackson. Lynn. Bowman. Cawthorn.
Present.
Watts,
Present.
Middleton.
Present.
Here.
Atkins. Chavez.
Here, sir.
Smith. Lewis Johnson.
If we all can stand, we'll have the invocation by Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts and the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Matthew Lynn, please.
Amen. Let us pray. Thank you, Jesus, for this day that you have given us, Lord. We thank you, Father God, for this opportunity to serve your people. God, we just ask that you will give us the wisdom and the correct direction in which way to go, Father God, in making good, sound decisions on behalf of this parish. Lord, I thank you for everyone under the sound of my voice, and I ask you to bless them individually and collectively. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Everyone, please face our flag and say the Pledge of Allegiance along with me. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Vice President? I forgot to perform a little CPR on you or anything, are we? Okay, Todd, I know we have one agenda addition. Do you have any other than the one that Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts wishing to make?
No, sir, I do not.
Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts, I know you want to make an addition. I will honor your motion at this time.
Yes, sir. I have a motion to add a resolution proclaiming October as Breast Cancer Awareness Month in Caddo Parish.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion to expand the agenda to include resolution number 70 to proclaim October as Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I do have to open this up for a floor. If there's anybody who wishes, since this is an addition, I do have to have a public hearing at this time. Does anybody wish to speak in favor or against resolution number 70 proclaiming October as Breast Cancer Awareness Month being added to the agenda? Going once, going twice, gone. I'll declare the public hearing closed. At this time, we can vote to add this on the agenda at this time.
This is to expand
Expand.
and add under new business.
To expand and add under new business. We does require 100% vote in favor. And that passes 10-0, and now we'll move to our next item.
Next, we'll move to citizen comments.
Todd, I have none. Do you have any?
I have no cards, no, sir.
Okay, no one has. I do have to say this, that anybody who wishes to address the commission must fill out a comment card and forward it to myself or the clerk of the commission. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. We do have a comment section later on. If there's anybody who wishes to speak to the commission that's not on the agenda at this time. I have no comment cards, so we'll move to our next item.
Next, we'll move to visitors. We have Mr. Mike Spence, Caddo Parish Clerk Report. Update concerning the 2018 Caddo Parish elections. A request by Commissioner Gage Watts.
Mr. Smith, Mr. Spence, if you'll come up, appreciate you. How you doing?
Great. How are y'all doing?
All right.
Thank you for coming down, sir.
No problem.
It's always a pleasure to see you. I thought with the elections that are coming up, I thought that it was important for you to come down and kind of address the public about suppression or voter apathy that we're facing here in Caddo Parish, as well as across the nation. A lot of people are not as convinced that their vote is as secure as it used to be due to the security breaches. And I just wanted you to maybe reassure or to give them that confidence that they need, that you are running a safe and secure facility at Caddo Parish Clerk's office, and how they can be reassured of that.
Okay. I brought along with me Karen Crawford. She handles the election day events, and Sharon Newton, she handles all the poll watchers that candidates wish. So if anyone had a question for that, they're here for that. Awesome. As far as election day and the taking of the votes, tabulating of the ballots, the way it works is these voting machines that we have, they are old technology. They're not hooked to the internet. They are, as I would explain, they're a calculator. And as a person votes, as you see when you vote, they write the name down twice. There's a purpose for that. They write their names down twice. They check how many people voted and how many voted on the machine. So as long as those two numbers equal, we have a good election. The voter tabulations, They come out of the machine at 8 o'clock when we close down. It's a cartridge. It's not hooked to the internet. They bring it to our office, the commissioners. We at that time insert it into a computer. It's literally a cartridge reader. It reads the votes, and we can do a printout, and then we send those to the Secretary of State on a dedicated internet line. There's no sharing of a line. It's a dedicated line.
Okay. So basically, the system that we have is a much older system. So
Yes.
that kinds of make us safer because of that, because it's not hooked to the internet when you do your voting. For instance, a lot of other states have where they can actually go to the computer and vote. They can cast their vote through the internet. But ours is not set up like that, and we don't have an app where we can actually vote. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
And the early voting's the same way. The machines that they vote on in the Registrar of Voters office, those machines are also separate machines. They're electronic. There's no cartridge in them, but the machine tabulates, and then we count those votes also.
Okay. I see some others have some questions. I want to let them ask some questions, and I'll come back to you with poll watching and some other things. Go ahead. Thank you.
Mike, I just, one of the kind of questions I always get, and I think I know the answer to this, but maybe you can better help explain it. What is the difference between the Caddo Parish Clerk of Court's office with regards to the voting and voting day versus the Register of Voters office?
Well, the Registrar of Voters office, of course, they register the voters, and they handle early voting. Many years ago, when I first went to work at the clerk's office, we did early voting and the voting day, but the legislature changed that probably 25 years ago.
So the responsibility, let's just say the voting machines, right now they're housed,
Secretary of State
State.
has them, yes.
but they're brought up here, and let's just say Vivian, the voting machine is taken out, I guess, the day ahead of the vote or that morning or something, or?
Well, there's an election warehouse.
Uh-huh.
It's on 67th Street, 67th Street, and it's a warehouse, and that's where all the voting machines are.
But as far as like the machines being brought out, the commissioners who work the polls, the commissioner in charge of the polls, all of those are, I guess, employees by the Caddo Parish Clerk of Court's office.
The
Is that-
drayman or delivery man,
Yeah,
that is
and we know
bidded
about
out,
him,
right?
yeah.
That is through the Secretary of State's office. They bid that out.
But as far as like just the machines, the people out there that when we go to vote, the little girls or the men that are working, the commissioners, we call them, they're employees by the clerk's office. Is that
Right.
correct?
We have commissioner schools. In fact, we're just now finishing that up. The commissioner schools, Kara teaches those, Sharon teaches them, and those, we have several classes. Compared to other parishes that have 1 or 2 classes for everyone, we have about 15 or 20.
Right.
So we try to open it up to as many people as possible.
Okay, Commissioner Chavez?
Thank you, President. Mike, welcome. I think you answered 2 of my questions, thanks to Doug. One of my inquiries would be, when you guys commission a poll watcher, obviously they have to go through the class, but what are the checks and balances? For instance, in the military, we always had a battle buddy system, or like in the Air Force, it takes 2 men to deploy a missile. Do you guys have 2 different party affiliation commission members stand there to watch each other, or how do you guys manage that?
I guess we need to clarify that question more. Are you talking about at the voting precinct?
At each individual one? yes,
Okay,
sir.
each precinct, if it's a large precinct, has 5 commissioners. We have a commissioner in charge school where if a person wants to be the boss, they come to the commissioner in charge school, and they have extra class. They learn more things about election day. So they're in charge of the election day at that precinct. And then we have the 4 commissioners that work there. And the commissioner in charge assigns each commissioner their duties for the day.
Who personally goes to retrieve each cartridge from each location, or do you have people that bring those to you?
What we do now is I send clerks out to different areas, and they'll go to at least 10 precincts. Sometimes they have meeting places. We do that for Doug's commissioners because they have so far to drive. We're getting it more where they don't have to bring as many to us. We go get them from them. But the duties of the commissioner in charge is to bring the cartridge to us along with the written tabulations. When they close the machine down, it actually prints the tabulations of the machine also. So if there's an electronic problem, we have a two-way checkpoint to it.
Oh, that's good. So they actually print out at the place so that when they bring you the cartridge, you already have the report.
Right.
And then you just pop the cartridge in to make sure the report is correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And then at the end of the day, we send it to the Secretary of State's office.
And then you're stress-free after that.
Yes.
Mike, thanks for coming down. President, that's all.
Okay.
Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts?
Thank you. I just have one last question, and it's about the poll watching. Do you have to have a class? Do you have to take a class to become a poll watcher?
A poll watcher, no. A poll watcher is requested by the candidate. And there's so many days out, they have to have that list in by 4:30 in the afternoon.
How many days approximately must they have that in place before they become a poll watcher?
10?
October 29th for this election.
That's it. Thank you so much for coming down, and I hope that we have reassured some older voters and maybe ignited some fire in some that has never voted before because they just don't trust the process.
Right.
And I wanted you to come down just to make sure that everyone knew how secure our process was here in Caddo Parish. Thank you for your service, and thank you for everything that you're doing in our communities. We appreciate you.
No problem. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, Todd, moving to our next
Next,
item.
we move to reports, administrative report.
Dr. Wilson?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, President Dominic and Commissioners. We have a couple of things today. First of which we have a brief update from Origin Bank per one of our commissioners' requests. So, Mr. Lilo, Ms. Dunn, would you please come on up, Ms. Kim, and give us your presentation?
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. I'm going to ask my associate, Kim Bailey, to distribute some material and just briefly touch on a few things. First of all, my name is Larry Little. I serve as the Louisiana State President for Origin Bank. I office here in Shreveport. I'm a 25-year citizen of Shreveport, Bossier, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to be here on behalf of Origin and have the opportunity to be the provider of banking services for the Caddo Parish Commission. I've got some familiarity with some of you, some more than others, beginning with Commissioner Atkins. He's known me for virtually my entire banking career, and his father was a great mentor of mine.
Don't be telling anybody that, okay?
Oh, I'm very proud of that fact.
You just lost about 3 votes.
Very proud of that. Commissioner Chavez.
Oh, my God. We're in really lots of trouble now.
No, he and I went to church together for a long time, so I can attest that he does go to church, in fact. And then indirectly, I will mention that Commissioner Middleton and I have an indirect connection, our organization does. We actually, our office is housed in the former Ray Dickinson Ford building, and I have photographic proof that Mr. Middleton and his father have been long-standing citizens and it's helped spur the economy of Shreveport Bossier when they purchased a family vehicle, which he still has, in 1968, I believe. So he took pictures of that truck in front of our building. So, and then I'll mention that Administrator Mr. Wilson and I served on the board of the Providence House for a number of years. Briefly and in summary, Origin Bank is over 100 years old. We entered the Shreveport Bossier City market in 2009 by virtue of the acquisition of the old First Louisiana Bank, which some of you may remember and recognize. We have a physical presence in 3 states, obviously Louisiana, but also offices in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex and in Houston, Texas, and also in Jackson, Mississippi, and some of the surrounding suburbs. We're roughly $4 billion in assets today. We launched a successful IPO in May 2008, and we are traded on the NASDAQ exchange under the ticker symbol OBNK.
2018.
What did I say? 2008? 2018. Thank you very much.
May 17th.
Yeah, May 17th. That's right, of 2018. That by virtue of us being a publicly traded entity, financial information in detail, in great detail, is available on the bank, and some of which has been provided in the package. But what I thought I'd share with you is some information that kind of speaks to our culture. In fact, what we reference is our culture book. If you'll notice, our logo covers the face of the book, and each of the 4 quadrants represents something near and dear to our organization, and that includes our customers, our shareholders, our employees, and our community. And certainly by virtue of us being present in Caddo Parish, the Caddo Parish Commission certainly fits into that community quadrant, and we're hopeful that we can fit you into that customer quadrant as well by virtue of a successful response to your RFP. We believe we have the size and sophistication to meet the needs of your organization. We have Treasury Management Depository Services platform that's on par and in many instances exceeds that of the Money Center Bank. But we're small enough to be responsive and flexible and feel like a hometown community bank. And with that being said, I'll open it up for any questions that Kim Bailey or I could answer. So.
Commissioner Cawthorn?
Okay, yes.
Yes, sir.
I just want the fellow commissioners to know that this is, Origin Bank was our recommendation coming out of the Finance Committee meeting. I've observed this bank for a few years, several years, and I've understood not only do they're going to provide the best return on our deposits, but I've also saw the unique and innovative way in which they have integrated themselves into this market, into the Texas market, and even their strategy for deposits. You know, typically what banks do, rake in deposits, lend them out at a higher rate, and that's how they make their profits. And so, having said that, I'm comfortable with what they have done. And I always say, ironically, the day that you guys closed the bail at the NASDAQ, I was actually sitting in my office with the television on, and you guys came. I think you were standing in the crowd there.
We were.
Drake Mills and the other guys. But I think you guys are a unique bank. You can provide an excellent service for the parish, and I'm definitely supportive of what you're doing here locally and over in the Texas market.
Thank you. Just briefly, I'd like to point out to your comments, we support either directly or indirectly in excess of 50 nonprofit organizations and groups just in the past 3 years alone. So we're dedicated to the community. So thank you very much for your recommendation.
All right.
Commissioner Chavez?
Thank you, Chair. Obviously, as Vice President Cawthorn said, this came out of committee, and we had a lot of different local choices. The prerequisites being that A, they are local, and then we're looking at a rate of return on our funds, as well as our banking fees. And they came across as the #1 person on the list on all 3 categories. So out of the commission, we voted on them, or out of the committee rather. And I personally actually had to deal with Origin Bank last week on a client of mine within my business, and I was extremely impressed with the way that your guys as bankers handled the situation. It was nice to go to a local bank where they actually looked up the person's account that I was working on, called them personally on their cell phone to verify information and okay the transaction. And you just can't get that kind of local customer service from a lot of the other banks that I deal with here. So I was very appreciative, and I look forward to working with your bank here at the parish. Thank you for coming down, guys.
Thank you very much for your kind words. That's what we try to do every day.
Commissioner John Atkins?
Thank you. As my fellow colleagues on the Finance Committee mentioned, you all had a very strong RFP. It looked like it would be the most financially advantageous, so that was certainly a check. And then through your history of high service to your banking community, in my mind, I felt like you all had a strong mark there too. So we expect you to perform well financially and perform well with respect to service. So that's why I voted along with the fellow members of the committee, to forward it out of committee.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Jackson?
Yes, Mr. Little, how you doing?
Mr. Jackson.
Yes, great to have you all down. I was just curious. I'm pretty big, and I don't know if it was discussed, but the CRA aspect. Can you talk a little bit about your CRA?
I can. I wish that this was a day later, because I actually have a meeting scheduled in the morning with our CRA officer to go over in detail what our budget and in great detail. What that budget looks like and how we're supporting and how we're trying to be innovative. Look, so CRA is, for those of you who don't know, stands for Community Reinvestment Act. Banks are required to meet the needs of the communities in which they serve, and oftentimes it's very easy for banks to gravitate towards higher income, higher net worth individuals, and that's all well and good, and we have to do it and we have to make money. But there are those in the community which may not meet that criteria in terms of being high net income and high net worth, and we're held to a standard that's very important and appropriate that we meet those needs. And I can tell you that we've received, but I can't disclose I'm not sure I can disclose the exact grade, but we are on the positive side of the ledger, certainly in that, and we're dedicated to that in a number of ways. We participate in Bank on Shreveport. I'm not for sure if you're familiar with that program, but it's directly targeted to meeting the needs of some of the underbanked and underprivileged. A host of other ways. One that's near and dear to my heart because I have 5 kids or stepkids, and I've been involved in youth athletics for a number of years, and we directly support a number of athletic programs either through the YMCA or directly to schools such as Huntington and some other schools that may fit into that, some of that underbanked, underprivileged network. So it's important to us. It will continue to be important to us. And again, if I had been a day on the other side of this, I could have had greater.
I'm probably gonna request that if somebody could come back on Thursday.
Sure. When
we do, because this is a one reader, correct? Will this be adopted on Thursday, or does this lay over?
Yeah,
So it's a resolution. So if someone could come back on Thursday, maybe. I have a passion, and a lot of folks up here have a passion for housing development. As you know, we now have a housing trust fund. I don't know if that was discussed, and I'd love to know if you guys work with CDFIs.
We do. I can't speak to the specific investments that
Sure.
we've made, but I can come back and be equipped to have that discussion. And I can't promise this because I'm not aware of her schedule, but I can ask our CRA officer to accompany me for that presentation if you're interested and if she's available.
Is that person local?
Well, she's local she offices in Ruston,
Okay,
so
sure.
but she's in our market.
Local enough.
That's so we're not. It would be cost prohibitive to have a CRA officer in every market, so she has responsibilities for the entire bank. But so the way our organization is set up is the market presidents, myself and my counterparts in the other markets are directly responsible, for administering and the CRA budget and helping make those choices and seeking the appropriate input. And she provides the expertise in terms of what fits and what doesn't. So, and
Right.
her name's Sheila Grayson. So.
I'm glad that we have a local bank. I don't know if you know me, but I know of you through Sherelle, Jefferson,
Yeah.
and Roderick over in Homer. So
Right.
you've mentored them and been very positive.
Well, I'm
in
glad
their
they had good
lives.
things to say about it.
Yeah,
We miss Sherelle.
and they've all gone off and left Shreveport.
They have.
But definitely want to make sure that part of our discussion is I'd like to see some the institution that is holding the parish resources. I'm very familiar with Bank On, helped put the program and stand it up with Bank On. It's a very positive program. But what we've seen, and we know that banking has changed and evolved, and hopefully there's a commitment that we can also have a discussion about access. Doesn't necessarily have to be a brick and mortar location, but maybe hybrid, something like that. And I think that was part of, I hope that was part of what Commissioner Cawthorn had on his mind when he went with a more local bank as we talk about access. But, and I think was that y'all or who's right there at the corner of Fern and
70th and Fern, that's us.
That's us,
Yes.
okay. I think y'all were a great partner in bringing Whole Foods here. I think y'all
We
gave
had
up
to
some
work
right-of-way.
with them on access to
Right.
bring that. So,
Right.
yeah. So it was a little out of the whack for us in terms of not necessarily the best thing for our organization, but it was the right thing for the community.
Right.
So, and to your point about access, again, the dynamics changing, and that's part of what banks struggle to deal with is brick and mortar versus electronic medium. We certainly have a robust online platform that anybody with a smartphone can access, and then we're enhancing that with a person-to-person payment option here in coming weeks. So it's very timely.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing a little bit more, even if I have to come sit down and we have some private sessions to discuss. I can tell you that when those tornadoes hit, we had a functioning CDFI here. There are resources out of Federal Home Loan Bank in Dallas. Are y'all member?
We are.
Federal Home Loan Bank in Dallas will match dollars if you have a functioning CDFI here. So I just don't want us to leave resources and revenue on the table. And I think us having a local bank partner will help us with that. So I'm looking forward to the relationship. Thank you.
Same here. I look forward to the discussion. As
Take
well.
care.
Commissioner, do you want anything? Commissioner Cawthorn?
Oh, I thought Larry would toot his own horn, but American Banker Magazine named you guys the best bank to work for in 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I thought you would toot your horn about that.
I appreciate you tooting it for us.
All right,
It's
thank
always
you.
better to have someone else toot your horn.
All right.
Okay, thank you so much for coming. I
you,
guess we'll
President.
see you back Thursday.
Thursday.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Todd, next item?
Commissioner,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Commissioners, last week, the Louisiana Parish Engineers and Supervisors Association held this regional conference here last week, Thursday and Friday. And I'm pleased to let you know there are 15 public work employees received their credentials for Road Scholars. They completed a series of courses over time, and they got their certificate last Friday. And there are 15 of them, and Mr. Weaver, one of them in the audience today. So from the North Camp and South Camp, 15 public work employees now are Road Scholars.
Oh,
Is
good.
that ROAD or RHODES?
OAD. So they are highly trained, educated in their craft.
Yeah, I
So
didn't think,
Yes, sir.
I was always wondering if Tim could be a, Rhodes Scholar.
Yeah, so we're proud of
Well,
that.
I wouldn't say too much because he did go to my college, so he's working
So
hard.
there's a lot of science to maintaining a road.
Yeah.
It's just not going to be throwing dirt on the road. You have to know how to do some math and some engineering work to make it done right.
Okay. All right,
So thank you all. That's all I have today, sir.
all right. And we're moving to our next item.
Next, we move to commission remarks.
Is Ms. Swain was she on the agenda for anybody, or?
I think she is here in respect to one of the items you have on your agenda.
Okay, all right.
Today.
Todd, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Commission remarks, communications, reports, and other items related to the work session agenda.
And next item,
Next, we'll move to president's reports.
so Thursday.
There's no old business, we move to new business. Zoning case P 2418 regards to ordinance 5799 of 2018, amending zoning property located on multiple lots southeast and southwest of Mansfield Road and Keithville Kingston Road, Caddo Parish, from RA Rural Agriculture District to I-1 Light Industrial District. That's District 11.
Move to approve.
I have a motion by Commissioner Jim Smith to move this to Thursday, seconded by Commissioner Mike Middleton. Please vote. That passes. Moving to the next item.
Zoning case P 2518 regards to ordinance 5800, amending the zoning property located on the southwest end of Paxton Road, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from RA Rural Agriculture District to I-1 Light Industrial District, District 10.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Chavez, seconded by Commissioner Mike Middleton. Move this to Thursday. Please vote. That passes 12-0. Next item, please.
Authorize the introduction of ordinance number 5801, 2018, declaring certain adjudicated properties to be surplus, and authorize the parish administrator or designee to sell the purchase of Caddo's tax interest in certain surplus adjudicated
Move for
properties.
introduction.
Okay, that's been moved to Thursday by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Matthew Lynn.
Question.
Go ahead. Commissioner Jackson?
Mr. President, would it be okay if I brought Ms. Swain up real briefly just to speak on this?
Sure.
Thank
Is
you.
that what she's here for?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Great, okay, thank you. Gonna flip a switch. 2 seconds. Is it up?
They've got a call in the control room switch.
Okay. You're gonna be super excited when you see this
Good.
photograph.
We're ready to be excited.
I know. I am very excited as well. So the numeric address of the property that you guys are looking at for Thursday is 114 Texas. And if you don't know what 114 Texas is, I bet you know what this is. Oh my gosh. So this is the site that has faced us for years now. This is the old Humphrey in the Square, the old sports page. Those of you who have a little bit of a memory of some fun partying times back in the 1990s will probably remember this building, but it is not you, Mr. Middleton. I'm sure that you do not. That's right, 80s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. So this building has been on the city's demolition list now since at least the mid-2000s, and it's a real problem because this is what's called a party wall building. It shares walls with all the buildings adjacent to it. So it shares a wall with Chicago that shares a wall with the Blind Tiger. And the problem is that is what the exterior wall of this building looks like. It's a horrible view when you're coming into downtown Shreveport from the bridge. It's not something that we want associated with our city in any way, shape, or form. And that's what it looks like on the inside. So isn't somebody getting a deal? Yeah. So we've been trying for a number of years now to get somebody interested in this building, but the problem is that it had not reached that point of adjudication where you could legally get it into someone's hand, someone who is going to purchase it, a local developer with ability, with working capital, with knowledge, who has worked on historic buildings before. But look at what he's going to be getting. This is nothing that people are lining up to throw their hat in the ring for, I can tell you that. This is going to be a big and complicated project, and we are thrilled that we have found someone local with the ability, with the knowledge, and with the background to be able to take this on. It's going to be a building, I think, when it's all said and done, that we'll all be proud of. Let's cross our fingers and hope that it proceeds forward. The problem is if this building were to be demolished, it would impact every building in that block. Potentially, the danger of taking a building like this down is the danger to those buildings that are left standing, because those exterior walls on the building adjacent to it was never intended to be an exterior wall. It was always intended to be an interior wall. And the structure of this building, the roof structure, which is now gone and has been gone for years, helped hold up the buildings adjacent to it. So again, we're talking about math and engineering and all that. There's a whole lot that goes into keeping these buildings safe, sound, and on the tax rolls. And that is one thing I'm really excited about. The developer is not intending to pull this building off the tax rolls. The developer is not looking for public capital. This is a private project. So I would encourage you, if the spirit moves you, and I hope it will, on Thursday, to vote to allow this building to move forward to be able to be purchased.
Thank you, Ms. Swain. Commissioner Jackson, you have anything else?
Sure, yes, and thanks, Liz, for reaching out and working with Jimmy on this. This is sort of one of the reasons why we wanted to make sure that we had some type of local input before we put these out to for auction,
Right.
because we want to make sure that we have a local developer have a chance to get this, and if any way that we can, if there's any way that we can protect that, because I think even when it goes out to bid, it could still go to the highest
That's correct.
That's correct.
bidder.
From what I understand.
And I
yes.
know a lot of people, and I have this argument with a lot of folks, is that I'm not as much as concerned about putting it back on the tax rolls. I'm worried about value added to the community. Because what we don't need to do is put it back on the tax rolls, and then it continues to deteriorate, and then it brings down the property values of everything around it. So I appreciate you, Liz, for working and finding a local developer who we can actually see, touch, and feel to be able to renovate this property. And this is one of the reasons why we kept some of those properties out of just going straight through the process. So.
And I appreciate that, Commissioner Jackson, because you have experienced, just like we have, there are speculators
Right.
who will jump in and they'll see a piece of property that the purchase price of the property is low, but the purchase price is the smallest check you will write. I guarantee you. Everything else that will go into this building will cost much, much more. So there are people who will purchase a building and then not have the capability to do anything to it, and that doesn't help any of us. It just doesn't help any of us. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Again, thank you, Liz. Thank you for coming down. I
Thank
don't
you.
think we see a problem with that. So, we got one. Hang on one second. Commissioner Bowman, did you need something?
I
Or?
just want to say thank you again.
You are very welcome. Thank you.
For all the work that you always do anyway.
Appreciate it. Thank
Downtown's a
you.
better place because of you.
Thank you.
And I seconded that motion.
Did I have it? Okay. The motion was seconded by Commissioner Bowman. And have we voted on this yet?
Not yet.
No.
Okay, motion been made by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Bowman. Please vote to move this to Thursday. I think you made her day, Gerald.
Let's tell the truth.
And that passes 12-0. Next item.
Authorize resolution number 67, approving the holding of an election in Caddo Parish Fire District number 6, State of Louisiana, on Saturday, March 30th, 2019, to authorize renewal of a special tax therein.
Commissioner Smith makes that.
Second.
Move to approve.
Makes that motion to move to Thursday, seconded by Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts. Please vote. And that passes 12-0. Next item.
Authorize resolution number 68, to request that administrator purchase a program to give citizens direct computer access to the parish finances.
So moved. Motion been made by Commissioner Middleton,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Chavez. Have some commissioners on board. Commissioner Middleton, since you made the motion, we'll allow you to speak. Do you wish to speak on this motion?
Yeah, I think most of us up here campaign or somewhere in our political life have said that we're about transparency and being accountable. And I think this is a way for people to be able to, 3 o'clock in the morning, anytime they want to, they come on and see how we're spending our parish dollars. And I think that's very important. Other jurisdictions are doing it, and I just can't imagine anyone not opening our books. The books are already open anyhow. This just gives easier computer access to people out their home computers. If they want to look at something, maybe call their commissioner and ask them about it. So I just think it's a step forward to furthering our accountability, our transparency, and I think it's a win-win for everyone. So that's it for now. Thank you.
Commissioner Linda Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think right now we already have our budget on our website, and so people can go and see how we're spending tax dollars based upon the budget that we approve at the beginning of, well, at the end of the previous year. So I don't really see the need to do this. Is actually be wasting taxpayers' dollars by buying a software that would then do instantaneous expenditures. If a person wants that information, all they got to do a public record request. When this term started, I mentioned about other parishes and how we compare to certain parishes, and it went up on deaf ears. Now all of a sudden, we want to compare our parish to another parish. So, got to be more consistent. That's all. And I think that with our budget online, I looked to see the Shreveport budget is online. The only one I couldn't find was the school boards. You have to go by the office and actually look at theirs. So I think we are transparent with it being online. You can go through it, have questions. You can easily call the commissioner that represents you. So I think that we should vote it down.
Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to make a substitute motion that we move this to long-range planning. If I can get a second, I'll explain on that.
Second.
All right, thank
Okay,
you, guys.
hang on. So we've got a substitute motion to move this to long-range committee. It's been made by Commissioner Chavez, seconded by Commissioner Atkins. So go ahead.
Sure, thanks, Chair. I appreciate what Commissioner Middleton is trying to do, and although, yes, it is online, and I'd rather us be more cost-effective, I'd like us to go into a long-range planning session to see what other options that we can do as far as it's not that it's not online, it's just not user-friendly. And the average person that has to balance their own checkbook at home will look at our line items and not know what's going on. So if we can figure out a way where the finance department can come up with an option to present to the long-range plan and to say, here's our suggestion on how we can make it easier for the public to view it and let them understand it, as opposed to paying for somebody else. Or if they can't do that, if the finance department deems it may be too hard, then we do look for an outside source to say, okay, let's purchase a program to do exactly that. And I think if we all come together and look at that through long range, we could come out with the intent of what Commissioner Middleton is trying to do. That's all.
Okay, Commissioner Cawthorn.
I had a whole litany of questions, and my recommendation would be to take it to the Long Range Planning Committee in terms of costs and how effective it is, user friendliness. So, same comments I have with Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, VP.
And Commissioner Atkins.
Ditto to what Commissioner Cawthorn said. I think it's a good idea. I think there's a lot of issues to evaluate and consider. So I think it's best done in a committee. So thank you.
And Commissioner Lewis Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. President. I too feel that, as Commissioner Middleton said, that, well, I can appreciate transparency and the importance of transparency. For you to say that there are other entities that are using it locally, I'd be interested to know and identify who they are. And also the expense that would take in order to accomplish this has not been mentioned, but from what I've seen, I think it's significant when you look at the fact that we have something in place at this point that already meets that objective. So that would be my position. But whether it goes to long range or whatever, my concerns would be what are the local entities that are using it. I'm not aware of any, and I am aware of a couple that have chosen not to use it based on the expense of doing it. And I would like for those two things to be identified if it was to make it to long-range planning. But I would oppose it at this time for that reason.
Commissioner Jackson?
Well, I have two specific questions. One, I guess since we have a substitute motion, is why long range and not the appropriations or audit and finance committee? Because it sounds more like operational auditing as opposed to structure, procedures, or even, I don't know, I'm just kind of lost on that, but I guess I'll yield to the president or the maker of the motion. I would assume that it would go to, that's just my assumption, that it would go to the audit and finance or the finance committee. Then my second question was to, I guess it would either be Erica, is do we not post, I used to get the quarterly financials offline. Are they not posted online?
No, sir, we haven't. We don't have the quarterly financials online. We just have the annual.
I can't hear you.
We don't have the quarterly. We just have
Okay,
the
annual
financial
financials.
statements
Okay.
online.
Okay.
Any process to make our records public where you have to drill down would be an involved process.
Oh, so this
Not
is
something that you could just do.
Oh, this is like how many pencils did we buy?
Yes, this is.
And where you bought them from.
Drill down
And where you bought
look
them
to
from?
see who
I
paid
got
where,
you.
search
Okay,
by name.
so this is, I got you. Different question. Okay, that's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, I think that, my first thought was,
And I'm sorry. I think
I'm
that
sorry.
answers my other question.
are you good?
Yes.
To answer some of your questions, I think the Audit Finance Committee is dedicated to the specific purpose. I don't think it would go under there. I think that the best part would probably to go to Long Range Committee unless.
Yeah, it makes sense.
The I think the same thing everybody's saying around this horseshoe, I have echo, because we have a resolution here, but how much is this going to cost? Is it going to be a yearly cost? From my experience, you get these software programs and use them, you pay a upfront fee, and then you have to hire, I guess, Erica or whatever, one of our little girls to input the data, and then 3 years or 4 years later, the software's out of date. How much is that going to cost? Just those are questions to be answered in the committee. So I'll support this going to the committee. Let's see, getting back to Mike Middleton's already spoken. So Commissioner Matthew Lynn, you haven't spoken yet?
Did you hire your daughter to work at the commission?
Me?
You said a little girl. I figured you were talking about your daughter.
Well, it could be a young man, it could be an old man, it could be an older lady, it'd be somebody.
Thank you, Mr. President.
I was thinking about her assistant, what's her name, because she's probably to be the one that would be doing it. What's her name? What's her name?
Just say young lady.
Okay, young lady.
You kept saying girl.
I knew we would have an employee.
Yeah.
Regardless
You
of
kept saying, he's
the
trying to
gender.
save you.
Moving on.
He's seeky, he's seeky.
Okay, let's see, who's next? Commissioner Lynn, you done?
That's it.
Okay. Commissioner Lyndon Johnson.
Thank you, sir. It's just that the transparency levels keep moving. So next, what would be next? How do we spend our commission checks? We have to explain where each dollar goes that we get from our payroll check. I mean, that's next. From our check, you say, well, I spent so much dollars at the grocery store, I spent so much in clothing. And so now you got to get an account of your payroll check. So, I mean, are we gonna go to that level as well? So right now, our budget is online. People can go to it. If they have further questions, that's what we're up here for. That's what we get elected for those questions. We can get that information to them. That's all.
And a public records request.
Okay. Commissioner Middleton?
I can't believe Commissioner Johnson would go that far and say you have to account for what you.
But
bring
y'all
in
are
your
doing
budget.
that now.
Y'all don't do it.
Guys, hang on.
The thing about it is
Let's let
that,
Commissioner Middleton have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't mind this going to a committee. I just would like to see it fly on through. I don't think it's going to be that much. Miss Erica, do you have any idea what this software is called?
I don't have, it depends on the entity. When we looked at the example that you sent to us, they pay right at $40,000, and I think that's
They paid what?
40,000.
Oh, 40. I thought you said 400,000.
No.
Just the same.
40,000 for what length of period?
Per year.
That's my understanding is that the annual cost. What usually happens is you have to pay a cost for the software, and then you will have to pay some type of annual maintenance costs as well as costs related to upgrades. It's just if you decide to go this route, there will be. I guess we'd have to send out a proposal.
I accept this going to committee, Mr. President.
Okay.
Mr. President. That's it. Thank you.
Matthew, are you back on the board, or is that from a while ago?
I am not on the board.
Okay. All right, so we'll be voting.
I don't know what's wrong with them.
Commissioner Jackson, you back on the board?
So I just want some clarification even before we send it to committee, because I'd like for it to go in correct posture and come back in correct posture. But if this is going to require an expense, wouldn't it not require an ordinance?
Commissioner, this
Hang on.
is a resolution to authorize the administrator or to request the administrator. It's a day-to-day operation, so it's a request. That's why it's in the form of a resolution. If he decides to accept the request, then he would have an ordinance prepared to present to you all for approval.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
So we're getting into the day-to-day operations. This is up to Dr. Wilson anyway.
I have it in there.
All right, this has been voted to go to committee. Please vote is the initial recommendation. And that passes 8-4. Moving on to our next item.
Authorize resolution number 69, proclaiming and supporting October's Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
So moved.
Okay. Have a motion by Commissioner Middleton, seconded by Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts. Mike, you want to speak on that and tell us about our shirts and everything?
Yeah, a few of us were able to get these shirts in time to be able to wear today as far as awareness for domestic violence. And I think we all probably know someone in our lives that has been a victim of it, or maybe that has caused this, and it's really bad, as we know. I mean, we have violence everywhere, it seems like these days, but this is specifically the month for awareness for domestic violence. And I've seen much of it in my 39 years in law enforcement, and I'd like to see us stop to it. But it's the awareness part of it. So if you know anybody or you suspect somebody is being a victim or they're a perpetrator, try to intervene in whatever way you can. There are ways to do that with latency. So that's good, and that's it for now.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Please vote. Unless Stormy, did you need to speak on it or anything? You
No,
good?
I agree with what he said, and it's domestic violence. It is something that affects both men and women.
Right.
All right, please vote. And that passes 12-0. Next item.
Authorize resolution number 70, proclaiming October's Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
So moved.
It's been moved by Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts, seconded by Commissioner Mike Middleton. Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts, you want to speak on that?
Thank you, sir. I thank you all, for my colleagues, for accepting this agenda addition to provide this resolution on this agenda today. I forgot about that it was October, moving so quickly into Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but we just want to make sure that we always remember to recognize this month here in Caddo Parish and to help someone who just may be in need of just a friend. I can never stress that enough when you're a caregiver for someone who is battling with any sickness or disease. So we want to remember those who are survivors and those who have gone on as well. Thank you.
Well, I hope everybody recognizes, Stormy, or Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts, has always been on the forefront for a lot of these resolutions that, you know, we sometimes take for granted. So I do appreciate you and your work on these issues. So,
Thank you, President.
all right, please vote.
Jackson.
And that passes 12-0. Next item.
Authorize commission to select fiscal agent bank for the Parish of Caddo.
So moved.
That's been moved by Commissioner Cawthorn and seconded by Commissioner Jackson. No one, please vote. And that passes 12-0. Next item.
Communiques and committee reports.
Is anybody, Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts?
Thank you, sir.
I'm sorry, go ahead, we'll let you go first.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I can
Commissioner Jackson, you're on the board first.
I didn't know I was on there.
don't
I
ask
will
three.
just say, National Night Out is tomorrow, so if you have a chance to get out and visit some of those locations. But I think something's going on with this clicker here.
It is. Mine too.
So, but I wasn't on the board.
Okay. Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts, I saw you press, so I thought you were going to be on the board first.
Thank you,
but-
sir. That was the very place that I was going to start about National Night Out tomorrow. Did we get a list in, Todd?
We
Michelle?
have not. I think Ms. Grinley's working on that.
Okay, thank you. We were looking for the list of it. We normally receive them by now, where all of them will be located in our respective districts, just reminding everybody how important it is for communities to come together on this National Night Out event. So that was the first thing that I wanted to remind everyone of. And I also wanted to remind everyone that this is the last week. I forgot while our clerk was here to talk about this is the last week to register to vote for the November 6th election in order for your vote to count in that election. So make sure if you need to register that you do it by October the 9th.
And I know, just to piggyback on there, you can go to the registered voters office, and they're constantly having stuff at the library. You know, we get
Yes.
the stuff, but you'd also do it online. My son turned 18, and we got him registered online. So you can easily go online
Right.
and register to vote. So everybody does need to be encouraged to do that.
And they have an app for that. Go Vote app. So
Yep.
you can actually go to that app and you can actually register to vote right there online through your cell phones or any type of electronic devices. The last thing is that the 2018 Veterans Parade is coming up Sunday, November the 11th. And if you would like to nominate an honoree or to be a sponsor or to be a parade participant, this is also the last week by October the 9th to enter those names to the Veterans Celebration Committee. And I have some flyers here, and we'll make sure that you get some in your mailbox for the Veterans Celebration Committee Parade and honoree ceremony that'll be coming up.
Just a point of clarification, Commissioner, did you say October 9th is the deadline for registering to vote?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Sorry, thank you.
It's okay.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Commissioner. It's also, I want to make sure that we understand that this year's Veterans Celebration Committee has decided to do two separate events. Most people who have attended them in the past, we will have the actual honoree ceremony after the parade on that Sunday. This year, it's going to be on that Saturday at Bossier Civic Center. DeSoto Parish has also joined us in this event, and it will begin at 5 p.m. and it's at Bossier Civic Center. It's a free event. It's open to the public when you will get out to come and see these people who have served wholeheartedly for our country, and then we're honoring them at this event. And then that Sunday, we'll have our culmination at the parade at the Louisiana State Fair, where our veterans will be getting in for absolutely no cost to you, and you'll be receiving flags on that day as well. And the last thing, I want to make an announcement about the expungements. This is something that is very exciting and very new to Caddo Parish, that if you cannot afford to pay for your expungement process to be done, there is now paperwork that you can file as a pauper, meaning that you cannot afford to pay for the process. And upon approval, that will be paid for you. So we're very excited to extend that invitation out to the public. This is another way that we are able to give back to you, and we're excited to be able to help you in any capacity that you can to get a fresh new beginning, a fresh walk in prosperity. That's it. You happy to hear that, right?
Thank you. And Commissioner Lewis Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. President. I too was going to mention there are a number of things that's happening in my district. I'll save those things for Thursday. There's going to be a mayoral forum coming up, but also National Night Out, which has been mentioned already. Administration has prepared for myself and other commissioners that choose handouts as relates to our millage. And I think that's a great opportunity for us during National Night Out to kind of engage our citizens and encourage them to support the millage. So I'd like to take advantage of that and encourage others to consider doing the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Middleton?
Thank you, sir. From time to time, some commissioners ask department heads to come up here and they challenge them on whether or not they've accomplished something that they've asked them to do. That could have been done, I think, many times on the phone. Or you can do it through Dr. Wilson instead of going right to the department heads and bringing them up here like they're putting them on the spot there. Yet a few weeks ago, Commissioner Johnson, he brought up the fact that some citizens have concerns about some things dealing with a certain department. These citizens email us or bring it to our attention. And I think we have a responsibility to be responsive to the request of our citizens, whoever they may be, whatever district they're in. I prefer them to be in my district, but and one of them definitely is. And the rest of them, wherever. But if anyone brings anything to me, an allegation of something that's wrong, I don't care if it's the streets and streets department or what. Animal services, yeah, that's the one that gets the biggest hit. But it's my responsibility to pass that on to Dr. Wilson. And Dr. Wilson passes on to whoever he sees fit. And he gets a response back, and if there's a response needed to go back to the citizen, that's handled. So for me to be called on the carpet because I do such a thing, I will continue to do it. And I ask anyone in this audience, anywhere, Facebook audience, wherever it may be, if you have a problem with anything, the operation of your government, which is the Caddo Parish Commission, the Caddo Parish itself, bring it to our attention, whether you're in my district or not. We'll pass it along through the route we're supposed to, but I want these people to have a fair opportunity to defend themselves, and it goes through Dr. Wilson. He is the parish administrator, and I have respect for that, and I think he will acknowledge that. So any person, any other commissioner has a problem with doing that, you're welcome to say that all day long. But my job is to be responsive to citizens, and I will continue to do that, whatever the concern may be. And so I just want, whether it's mosquitoes, whether it's whatever, solid waste, we're going to do that. That's the way I'm going to do it. Again, transparency, ethical, and accountable. I can only be held to that degree through Dr. Wilson, who gives me the information I need. And he's always good about that, and he forwards it to Travis or to Kelvin, whatever, if it's that area, and they give me a response back. I may not always like the response. The citizen may not always like that response, but that's the way the system is supposed to work. I don't call people up here and challenge them right now because I'm a parish commissioner. I've not done that yet. I don't think so, and I don't intend to do that. So I just want to be able to put that out, that I will continue to be responsive to citizens who bring things to my attention. And Dr. Wilson, you know I'm going to bring it to your attention. That's your job. That's not my job. I'm not supposed to call out these department heads and do it. So thank you, and I just want to make sure you understand that. Nobody in here take this personal whenever I do it. That's just our job, is to bring it to the administrator's attention, and I will always do that. Thank you, sir, for what you do. That's it.
Commissioner Chavez?
Thank you, President. I want to let you guys know we're going to have a long-range planning meeting on October the 15th at 1 p.m. I'll get Todd to email everybody, but Alan Clark and I are working on some stuff with the UDC, and it needs to be addressed sooner than later, so we're going to call on that. And then let the Southern Hills and everybody else who would like to come. Tonight we're having our annual membership drive.
What time is the meeting?
Tonight? Or
No.
the meeting? It's 1 p.m., 1300, October the 15th. It'll be the Monday work session. And then for this evening at Sheriff Safety Town at 6:30 p.m., it's going to be our annual membership drive for the Southern Hills Homeowners Association. It consists of paying the $25 for the yearly dues of our neighbors, whoever wants to join. But that comes with 2 catfish dinners and peach cobbler and tea, and for 2 members of a household for Southern Hills. And we have a treat tonight. Sheriff Steve Prater will be there to speak on his heart on subjects that have happened to him during his tenure. So I think if you guys want to come out and hear some of the fun facts of being the sheriff, I know it's going to be a good time for storytelling and fried catfish. So tonight, Sheriff Safety Town at 6:30 p.m. President, go ahead.
Record that one.
We're going to record? Oh, yeah. That's it, President.
Stormy, you've spoken, so we'll go to LB. Lyndon
Yes,
Johnson.
my rebuttal to those statements will be Thursday.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson.
You gonna go in depth?
Yes.
I'll go ahead and just put my rebuttal out there now. I think the saying goes, if it's not said on the record, it's not said. And so if I ask anybody to do anything here, it's one, to make sure that I have a record of it, and Dr. Wilson and Erica and Donna and Randy and Todd, everybody tends to get back to me, but when I feel that I need to, as an elected official, make sure I cover all my bases, this is the platform and forum that we do it in. And I just like for the person who initiated these comments, Commissioner Middleton, just to remember that some of those comments that he said, that pendulum swings both ways. So we have an obligation, all of us have an obligation to some constituent to come down here and serve and represent, and that's what we all do. So just want to keep that in mind. Thank you.
Stormy, are you on board?
Yes, I am. Thank you. I'm glad you all reminded me about calling people up here, because I have two I need to talk to. And that would be Mr. Glass. I called Property Standards Shreveport. We have an
You
issue.
need him to come up?
Yeah.
Robert.
on Denton Street. I know he can hear me as I'm speaking,
That's
so
why.
that's fine.
That's why I'm coming.
There's a property on Denton Street that is animal control. I want to say thank you to them. They have been making sure that they get this an elderly lady taken care of with her rodent problem. And the reason why she's continuously having this problem is because of those tires. There's a tire shop that uses an open field to dispose of their tires illegally, because they shouldn't be leaving them out there, but it's causing a huge problem for mosquitoes and rodents in that area. I would like to make a request that we can do something in that area to get that taken care of, because I get a call at least every 2 weeks about the same problem.
Is it King Street?
Denton, Denton Street,
All right.
and that's off of Jewella Avenue.
Yeah, I'll pass it along to him.
Thank you so much.
All right.
That's it.
Yeah. And I just wanted to piggyback on something you were saying a while ago. We just got an email from Crystal. Is Crystal here?
Yes.
Okay, so she just emailed us with the day, I guess the times and the places for all the block parties. So, is that right? Okay, so you were asking Stormy about
Yes,
those, so we just got the email for anybody who's interested in the National Night Out parties and times. So Crystal is good at hiding, so she's hidden over there. Okay, Todd, moving on to our next item.
We have, next is citizen comments, late arrivals. I have no cards.
I have no cards, so we'll move to our next item.
Consent agenda.
Move to adjourn.
Adjourn.